I'm incredibly excited to tell you about the most remarkable journey a gemstone has to getting into fine jewelry. Almost every other gemstone that we encounter, from the abundant diamond to the rare paprasha sapphire, even the pearls that we have to dive for, have this essential human element to their story, this miner, or in the case of pearls, diver, to try and recover this treasure and bring it into jewelry. But this next gemstone hasn't got that. In fact, this next gemstone is mined by Mother Nature herself. I'm incredibly proud to tell you about the story of Ant Hill Garnet. And it's called Ant Hill Garnet because it's typically found at the base of ant hills. Unfortunately, not your common garden anthill that you or I might have in the back of our gardens, but actually anthills very specific to the Navajo territories in the southwestern United States of America. And these ants, these giant red ants, not only are they creating these incredibly complex megastructures for their homes, but they're also inadvertently mining a gemstone. Because as these ants are digging these territories that they and the Navajo have called home for hundreds of years, they are actually also working earth that is rich in a gemstone, garnet. And it's not any garnet, it's a chromium-rich garnet, which gives it this incredibly deep, bright, intense red color. So it's quite fitting then that these red ants, as they're building these megastructures, as they're building them and they're digging their infinite number of tunnels, every now and then, very rarely, but it does happen, they will bump into a part of rock that is harder than anything else surrounding it. You know, the soils around are your classic desert soil, quite sandy, and they'll be able to break through the earth that makes up most of the mesa. But every now and then they'll hit a immovable object, a 8 on the Mohs scale garnet crystal. And there's no amount of cutting or biting that will break apart this gem. So instead, what these ants have to do through a extraordinary choreography of teamwork is they have to carry out this intruder that's stopping them realizing that the insect version of grand designs. They have to carry out this intruder, remove the obstacle, and they lift it up to the top of their anthill, where they then throw it out of the sunroof. And over time, these garnets then they tumble down the anthill, and they form these beautiful rings that line the bottom of the anthill, where they tumble down using gravity, or indeed wind and rain and erosion. They form these beautiful rings around the bottom. And the Navajo people have treasured these gemstones for over 170 years. Their deep connection to the land they've resisted all attempts to try and mine this material commercially, and instead their working relationship with the lands of their ancestors, they respect deeply. They've got strong bonds there. So instead they sustainably acquire these garnets by almost just picking up the cast-offs of the beautiful ants that they share the land with. Every year, 1 or 2 members of the Navajo tribe commit to becoming that year's garnet collectors. And they will enact a series of rituals, praying to the right gods and deities. They will spend the year before, they'll decide which part of land they're going to search for, and they'll spend the year before carefully raking that ground, both for spiritual reasons, also preparing any anthills ready so that they can then rebuild and throw the garnet clusters to the top. But what these ants do acquire for us, and what these Navajo then go and collect, maybe a handful of gems across a whole season, are one of the most collectible, bright red gemstones in the world. I mean, I've collected rubies, I've collected spinels, I've collected many, many other garnets, but nothing quite compares to the intense saffron red of these chrome-bearing anthill garnets.